Hey Jonathan, how you doing? I've got your work up right here. I was reading through your writing. Copy of text. Offset that. Take it slightly. I changed the text color to black. Yeah, I think that adds too much weight to the text. I'll talk about that in a second. Uh, Effect of a shadow. I think this helps the text pop more a little bit. Um, as the kind of guy. Yeah. Okay. A couple of things that you've done where you're trying to reinforce emphasis is actually kind of diluting the harmony of the page. And I'll talk about those both in 1 second. But okay, so I understand what you're trying to do is to make that text pop a little bit, and I get that. But this is just too heavy. You've got that back. Let me see if I zoom in here. Okay, yeah, you've got that dark background. It's basically a drop shadow. And I don't think we need it. I really don't. I would recommend this. Let me just get back here and let's go ahead and okay. Now, if you want what I would do is instead of blurring that, I mean, if you're going to blur it, if you're going to duplicate the text, set it behind and offset it, then blur the text, you might as well just use a drop shadow. And drop shadows are not always the best idea to use on text because it kind of creates a muddy look, kind of increases the visual weight associated. One thing that you can do is a different technique other than a drop shadow, and it's basically what you're, let me go over to the announcements area because I have actually, let me just show you something real quick. I've actually got an announcement in here regarding this technique. Where did it go? Right here. Stroke type and offset type. This offset type here, right here, is what you're going for, right? Make sure you take a look at this announcement. But anyways, that offset type, basically what you want to do, and instead of using black back there, use white. See how that works. That'll decrease some of the visual weight associated with purple on black, and it will really lighten up the ad a little bit. Now, I want to jump in here too. Looks like you've also got some sort of a shadow effect on this type, and I just think it's it's too muddy. I would not recommend that. Other than that, I think the page is really mechanically sound. I think you're doing a really good job here. A couple of things, recommendations. Okay, so lighten up the text a little bit. You might even, it's that with that dark drop shadow, it's too dark. Okay, so once we remove that, the body copy, you don't do anything. No drop shadows, no kind of offset text, nothing on the body copy. The body copy should be legible as it is. If it's not, try a different color. If a different color doesn't work, it's an indication that you might want to change the background image. Designers do it all the time. I do it all the time. I'm to the point now where I can look at an image. If I get a job for a magazine ad, let's say, I can look at the amount of type, I can look at the image and say that before we even start, and you'll get to this point, as a matter of fact, you'll be to this point after this class, where you can look at the image and say, this isn't going to work because it's not going to be able to show type very well. And that's typically associated with images that are very, very busy. So the idea is to cultivate yourself to a point where you can select an image based on its potential to hold type, where the type is readable and legible. Okay, so don't be afraid to change your background image if you find that type doesn't work. Logo looks good, but this whole effect, it separates the logo from the page. We want to create synergy in the page, not separation. So this box right here tends to separate the logo and the address from the page itself. I recommend removing that white box. What I would do here is I would just take this logo and place it right here, about this big. It's too big right now, about this big or so, like that. Okay, then you can take this information here, span it across the top of the ad, okay, and then drop the logo down here. I think the rocks are too heavy. I think right now the rocks are creating an uncomfortable visual weight. They're just too big. I would reduce the size of the rocks so that they're just not such a reinforced, emphasized portion of the ad. Just make that a little bit smaller, and I think we're good to go. All right, so just some minor recommendations. I think it's a really good start. The clouds in the background they kind of look like they're storm clouds, so you might consider these right down here look a little ominous, and I think you might consider changing that background image to something with very clear skies, as your client probably would not appreciate an ad that features cloudy skies in a Caribbean resort. Does that make sense? I would presume that would not be something that they were looking for. I would assume that a Caribbean resort prefer to brand themselves with bright blue sunny skies as opposed to impending storm clouds. Okay, all right, great job. Any questions, comments, concerns, clarifications, any of the above, please let me know. I'll be glad to provide any in that regard, anything that you need. Thank you very much.